Hey everybody, Chris here from Chris and G Travels. Today I'm going to be talking about 5 reasons why we're going with the Skoolie over our Class A motorhome. There's actually a lot more reasons than 5, but I'm going to go over the top 5 in this video, so let's get started. So my number 1 reason was the carrying capacity. This particular bus can carry 36,000 pounds. With that, I'm able to include all of the real wood, all the building materials. I'm wanting to do 300 gallons of fresh water, which is a lot of weight. Want to do at least 800 amp hours of battery, and want to have a full solar array, probably about 1,000 to 1,200 watts of solar. So with that, that's going to be a lot of weight. And just a quick comparison, our RV right now has a total weight capacity of 25,000 pounds. So this bus can carry 11,000 more pounds than our RV can. So when it comes down to boondocking, which is the number 1 reason why I want to carry all that weight, we want to build this bus to go out to public lands. So we want to go out to BLM land, public lands, be able to go out there and park and camp for anywhere from 3 weeks to a month. So that's going to require water, it's going to require, the solar. And our Class A, right now, the way that it's set up is we can go out to public lands and maybe stay for a week and a half. Whereas with this bus, we'll be able to stay much, much longer. And if we wanted to convert our RV into the points where we had an auxiliary water tank, if we added more batteries, we would definitely be over the weight limit of that RV. Now, a lot of RVs, truthfully, out there right now, they're probably over the weight limit and people don't even know about it. That gets a little tricky, number 1, for safety, the braking and acceleration. But also, if you do happen to get in an accident and you're overweight by 2,000 or 3,000 pounds, then you are putting yourself in a bad position. Reason number 2 actually has a little bit of a tie-in with the number 1 reason why we went with the Skoolie, is the carrying capacity. But for example, our RV is built on a Ford chassis. It can only carry 25,000 pounds. So what they do is, the manufacturers, they try and make them, basically as cheap as possible, but also making them decent quality. And what happens with that, instead of using all real wood, they use a lot of synthetic materials that, don't really hold up over time. Typically an RV, through 10 or 15 years, the interior starts breaking down a little bit on it. And with the build quality in general with those RVs, it seems as though, and there's a lot of evidence to point to this, that a lot of RV manufacturers, they just try and pump out as many RVs as possible, and then they deal with the problems later. And this is not an exaggeration. I've actually seen somebody that's been living in and sitting outside of a manufacturer for 5 to 6 months trying to get their RV fixed. It's just one problem after another. And right before we left, when we were talking to them, they said that the manufacturer actually ordered them a whole new RV because they couldn't get this one fixed. And again, it's just sometimes they just want to just burn and churn all these RVs. That's their number 1 priority. Whereas with this, I'm able to go in and put in all real wood, be able to add the weight that I want to, not only for the boondocking gear, but also just the overall build quality. I don't have to skimp on real wood. I can put in whatever type of flooring, put in whatever type of cabinets, just build this with the highest quality in mind without really having to worry about weight. And the 3rd reason why we are getting rid of our Class A for a Skoolie is because of the depreciation on our Class A. So over the last 3 years, the RV has depreciated anywhere from $15,000 to $10,000. And that doesn't include all the extra money we put into just keeping it maintained and on the road, as well as the extra boondocking gear that we already put on. So basically, the Class A is a pretty big money pit. Now this, not saying this is going to be cheap, but for this particular rig, bought it for $3,000 and put new tires on, which is another $3,000, and then the roof extension, it really wasn't that expensive. Basically what I'm getting at is, right now I'm still under $10,000 where we're at in the project now, and have a pretty solid rig, if you ask me. So it just seems like a better investment for the money, because 1, you're able to build with higher quality, and you're also able to build something custom. And I've learned so much in the last month and a half, 2 months, about construction, about diesels, about metalwork, welding, so it's been a very educational process, but as well it's been a financial gain overall in my eyes over the Class A, because we've been able to drive around and experience the Class A, which has been amazing, but just the depreciation alone is more than I have in this rig right now. So that's another reason why we're switching out the Class A for a Skoolie. So the fourth reason why we went with a Skoolie over a Class A motorhome is the drivetrain. So with this particular unit, we got the Cummins 8.3 with the Allison 3060 transmission. That drivetrain alone, just that engine and transmission alone, is worth $5,000 or $6,000. So you're able to buy these rigs for half of just what the drivetrain alone is worth. And I've always wanted to get a rear engine diesel because they seem to, if you take care of them, they seem to last a very long time. This particular bus, when I bought it, had 135,000 miles on it, somewhere around there. So it's an awesome drivetrain to have, but also one aspect that you have to take into consideration is the amount of spare parts out there. So the Cummins 8.3 with the Allison transmissions, they're on a lot of the bigger buses, but you're able to go to scrap yards, you're able to find parts for these everywhere. So no matter where you're at in the US, and they also sold these in Canada. So if you're driving through Canada and you need parts for the Cummins 8.3 and the Allison 3060, or anything going on with the bus, any suspension parts, you can more than likely find a scrapyard somewhere and be able to get the parts you need. And there's new buses hitting the market every day. So just the other day here in Arizona, I saw a bus that went for $1,000. It had the same drivetrain I have, but the engine was seized. But if you just look at that in terms of buying that bus, if you have a place to store it, I guess. But if you buy that bus and you're able to get the injector pump, which is a very expensive part, as well as the turbo, that's your parts right there, easily. So that's something to keep in mind, is even if you have a catastrophic breakdown with your drivetrain, you are able to find buses online on auctions that, the engine might be compromised, but the transmission might be good, and you're able to buy that bus and be able to, get that transmission for $1,000 and still have spare parts that you can, hunker away in your Skoolie or store somewhere in case you ever need them someday. So the fifth reason is safety. And then going back to reason number 2, RVs aren't built that well. They're not really built with high quality materials a lot of time. So say for example, if we are hit by another vehicle, or if we have a rollover, I think the Skoolie is going to hold up a lot better than the Class A. I mean, you can go to Google right now and look up RV crash pictures, especially with the Class A's. When they roll over, they just kind of disintegrate. One of the worst wrecks I've ever seen on the road was actually a travel trailer that had rolled over going down a mountain hill, and the truck was just blown up. But the trailer itself, it was literally just a trailer. Everything within that thing was scattered all over the road. I mean, the generator was over here, the fridge was over there, and we were just behind it. They just opened the road by the time we went through, and that was kind of an eye-opening experience for me. And that was one of the final straws where I was like, we're definitely doing a Skoolie. And with mine, I did raise the roof, but we used 1 1/4 inch tubular steel, and I think it's even stronger than it was before with the H channel on here. But what I'm getting at is, I think this rig is much, much more safe than a Class A motorhome, and even a fifth wheel. You can look up those pictures as well. Whenever a fifth wheel, overturns, it just takes that truck with it, and it doesn't seem too safe at all. So safety was another big concern why we went with the Skoolie over the Class A. But overall, guys, that's my top 5 reasons why I went with the Skoolie. So far, I'm so glad that I ended up going this route, even though, as you can see behind me, I still have a lot of work to do. But just even doing the work itself has been amazing. But one facet I do want to mention is I would have no idea how to build this. I wouldn't have any real thought process of where I'd want things unless I lived in the Class A. So being that I've been on the road for, a total of 7 years, my desires and wants change, but I was able to take all that information and be able to implement it into this floor plan and have the priority of the water and the solar and everything. So what I'm getting at is, make sure that the Skoolie is right for you. You know, maybe what might be best for you is doing a Class A for a year or so, figuring out what you like and what you don't like. Maybe get one super cheap and then just check that out. And then you're able to go back and be like, okay, so I really didn't like having the TV up in front. I really want one, you know, right across from the couch. Then you're able to take all that information that you learned through your own experience and implement it into the floor plan, because this floor plan was specifically built with everything that I've been doing, all the traveling that I've ever done in mind. So that's one facet. Even though, you know, it is a great drivetrain, a lot of times you are starting from scratch and you really won't know what you want until you get on the road. Because when we first got our Class A, I thought we were going to be doing a lot of RV parks. And in 2017, we stayed in 3 RV parks, and every single one of them was because we weren't able to boondock near a city that we wanted to stay at. That's it. There was no other reason. We didn't want the water, we didn't want the power. We were set. You know, it was just more we had to go to that spot to be able to explore the city that we were close to. So thanks for watching, everybody. If you have any questions, comments, definitely leave them down below, and check out our new website, SkoolieGear.com. And if you have any questions on that, definitely let me know, and catch y'all later.